Big Crew, your boy Savon Thomas, back with another episode of Coffee with Friends. I am joined by my friends on this podcast. I'll have them introduce themselves to you guys in a second. But we are here to review the show, the Netflix. I think it's a Netflix original. I'm not too sure. I don't know if it's made by Netflix or not. I forget. But Manifest. And this show has been 4 seasons of absolute wildness. I'm excited to talk about this show with my friends. But I'll let them introduce themselves first to you guys. Who wants to kick it off?
Okay, I'll start. I knew that was gonna happen.
Right.
Right. My name is Ziona Iwuru. I am 24. Do I say anything else? No, just that.
I mean, whatever you want to say. Plug your socials, whatever you want to
do. My social media at Ziona Iwuru. So, yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Deandra Alanis. You can catch me on Instagram at Deandra Alanis. Drop one A, you'll find me. TikTok is Deandra the Bell. I just kind of look at TikTok and don't really participate, so there's that. But I'm out in Austin, Texas, having a lot of fun associating with music, and I am a dog mom of a lovely wiener. So
do either of y'all post on TikTok? I feel like I've never seen one. Not Z does. I've seen Z post on TikTok.
I don't post that much though.
I have like 6 little
probably
little
have the same.
Yeah, I've seen you post too. I've seen your post. I think I like the post or two from you too. I think I've seen yours.
Yeah. I'm just not out here. You know what I mean? I'm not like scheduling like when to post TikToks, but if something comes up, then I'll do.
Yeah. I do plan on utilizing TikTok though, because there's a lot of like, I get so much information from there, not just like consuming content, but there's a lot of stuff you can learn from TikTok.
Yeah, that's my new Google.
Right, I know.
Like I go to TikTok first before anywhere else now.
Right, and I'm like, I want to participate, Like,
yeah, I had to make a separate TikTok account because I was like on my regular, like my Coffee and Comments TikTok, and like I started like looking at like all these filters, and I've made so many freaking videos of me like with these different filters on my face. And I was like, I want to post these, but I'm like, this is not Coffee and Comments related. Like I made a TikTok about Slack and what was it, Slack and Microsoft Teams. And I was like, this is nothing, has nothing to do with movies or TV. I was like, I don't know why I'm posting this on my profile, but I did, and it was very popular. So I made another one that is private, not private, but just secret. Where I can post like my filters and everything like that.
My favorite one right now of you that's random is you have Shake Some in the playing, and you are just looking so focused, like picking these movies, like for the
Disney movies.
I'm like, this is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen.
No, that's funny. I like when you do like little skits to those like voiceovers. Those crack me. They're so funny.
They're fun. But you know what's crazy? So I found out this is a thing amongst TikTok, and this is like off topic, but the TikTok limits you at 220 views. For most people, they get limited to 220 views, and then like they had like within the algorithm, like every now and then it will let you like exceed that if you're like if you're a bigger creator, you should be able to just your natural audience gives you more within the algorithm. But if you're a smaller creator, you're gonna get maxed out 220. And then I guess I don't know what happens to where they push you out to more people, but it's kind of interesting. Like most people get stuck at 200 views.
I wonder why they do that. They don't want to pay more money.
I don't know. Maybe because there's so much stuff out there, so they're like, we can only focus on so much stuff. But we want the good content out there. But like, for majority of my videos, it's like 200 views. And it was kind of funny because I was going through TikTok and I saw like these different people talking about 200 views. Like how is everybody's just stuck there for some reason.
I'm gonna check that out now, see if like I ever, went over 200 views. But now that you're saying that, I don't think I've ever. 200. Yeah, I don't think I've ever stumbled upon it.
200 views.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've had over 200 views on TikTok. I don't have that much people.
Good. I mean, I have videos of over 200, but a majority of mine are 200. Like, so I've had more, like some that go. I mean, I have one that's 40,000. So like, there's sometimes there are more, but like, majority of mine, if you look at them, they stuck at 200. Maybe 300 sometimes, but literally get stuck at like 220, and then it stops. So, anyways, again, this is a review of the show Manifest. And so if you guys haven't like looked up what Manifest is about, it's a very interesting show that has a great plot, but when you're watching it, it just, I don't know. For me, it just like it got so jumbled up, and we'll get to the season and talk about it a little bit. But I'm curious, like for DMZ, which that's hilarious. Both I call both y'all by your first initial. Why did y'all start watching Manifest?
For me, I was very interested because it was before I think it even got on Netflix. Like I don't know about anybody else, but I don't have access to cable. Like I wasn't doing anything like that. So I was like, oh, I think this is a great show. And when it finally came on Netflix, I was like, oh, I can watch it now. And plus it had ties to, what was it, like back in 2013 when the flight to, was it Malaysia, went missing. And so I felt like that was like at that time the most like biggest mystery, to date, that everyone was just trying to figure out. And the fact that there was kind of like a movie based on the same situation, or show rather, based on the same situation, I was really, really interested just to see like what they're gonna do, what they're gonna talk about, what they're gonna reveal as far as what's going on with this, storyline.
Yeah. That's cool. Z?
That's cool. No, for me, I got started into it because I started hearing rumors that this show Manifest was canceled, and there was like some conspiracy like around it, and I'm like into conspiracy, so I started like looking into it. I'm like, why did they cancel the show? Because it had like a few biblical references in it, so that intrigued me. I was like, okay, biblical references, and they're trying to cancel it. Like, what's up? So I started watching it for that reason. Quickly realized it's not necessarily like really biblical. It's just, but it's still interested. So, but I think I started watching it just out of curiosity, to be honest. But yeah.
So for you, D, there was already, was it one season out at that time? Like when you started watching, was it just the first season was out?
No, I want to say all 3 seasons were already out. Maybe 2, but
same thing for you, Z?
Yeah, I think, wasn't it after the first 3 seasons Netflix took it on, or after the first one?
I thought that was the first one because I remember watching it season by season.
So after the first one, that's when whenever they moved it officially to Netflix, when they canceled it off of, was it CW? I don't know who was with it.
I think it was CW.
Yeah.
All these CW shows, which makes sense. That's why it's so dramatic. But no, that's I guess I don't remember when I saw it then, because I just remember I got done watching some show. I don't know if it was Game of Thrones or if it was the last something. I heard the show I was watching, but I was like, I need a new show, and so like I'm going through Netflix and I see this show pop up, Manifest, and I'm like, okay, this premise sounds cool. Like I'll give every single show a pilot. Like I'll watch first episode, see if it captures me. Sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe this gets better, I'll watch the first season. But like this show, like from the episode 1, I was like, okay, this is a cool plot. Like the plane's gone, comes back 5 years later. I was like, okay, this is gonna be an interesting show. And for the life of me, I got trapped because of it. Because I literally was like, every single time I watched this show, I'm like, okay, they're going to explain something. And it didn't get explained until 4 seasons later. So
seriously, it just kept going.
It was always something else. And I'm like, when are we going to get the answers? It's all connected. It's all connected. What is it?
Exactly what I said. I was like, I don't like that I have more questions than answers right now. And we're already in season 4? Come on. And so at a point I did get really frustrated because I'm like, I swear, by the end of this, if there's still nothing, I'm going to be really mad for wasting my time.
Which it kind of wasn't, but there was at the same time, I feel like, with the ending, and we'll get there.
It still wasn't what I was expecting.
We'll get there. Let's start with season 1, though. So season 1 starts off with, like I just talked about, the plot of the show being laid out, right? So this family, they go on a trip to Jamaica. Coming back from Jamaica, part of the family goes to, they take another flight because one flight is too full. And when they get off the plane, they're thinking they get off the plane in 2013, but they actually get off the plane in 2018, and their airplane has been gone for 5 years, right? Everybody thought they were dead. There's this whole like huge ordeal. And then like, so it sets up the plot again. Like I said before, it sets up everything really good. Like it really entices you of like, man, it sounds like something that's very interesting. It's going to be like good plot, good sub points. Like everything's like what happened to them and why were they gone for 5 years? For me, the biggest thing I thought was interesting was like the relationships that moved on, right? That was the first thing I was interested in. Like, Grace started dating somebody, had a whole boyfriend, right? Jared, which was mixed fiance, got married to her best friend.
Yeah.
Right. So what were your first thoughts, like, with how, again, I guess two questions. How would you feel if you were gone for 5 years and your significant other just chose to, call you dead and move on? How would y'all, like, would y'all feel, would it make sense? Would y'all be mad, or what would y'all think?
I think it would make sense, but why did he marry her best friend? That was right. It was like it would make sense. I'm like, if you married someone else, but so have you been like secretly liking my best friend this whole time? So it's just weird. But I mean, it'll make 5 years is a long time. Like and again, the plane disappeared. Like there were no traces or anything like that. So it wasn't like there was no explanation. So it makes sense. But it's just like the best friend part. Yeah. No.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I initially was looking at it from the passenger's perspective, because I'm like, I was gone a day, and like, and what you mean, like, my mom is passed away, and
mom's dead,
yeah, and like you moved on, and there's the other man in my house, and and like my daughter's grown up, and who is it, we talk about Mick, like it's like it's just like, in that perspective, I'm like, holy crap, like I would be raging hell, because it's like what do you mean I've been gone for 5 years? But obviously on the family's perspective, it's like, I get it, it's like life still goes on without people, so you have to you have to do something. So like it was conflicting emotions, like thinking about it from their perspective, like each side of it. But it was very frustrating for sure.
And the person that I was hurt most for was Ben, because I understand it. Like, Grace stayed loyal for a long time for Ben.
Yeah.
Like, she stayed very loyal to this man for a long time. And then even like the way she met the boyfriend was through like the grieving counseling that they went through. Like, she was grieving the loss of her husband for the past, whatever years, and they connected through that. So I kind of understand. But like, I felt so bad for Ben, because I'm like, this it's not that you did, like, you did nothing wrong, and now your wife's getting her cheeks clapped by some other man because your plane done showed up late. Like, that was so tragic to me.
Seriously, that would be, and it just happened, like, it's just like no time was lost in their eyes. So like that would even be more confusing. Like, what? I've been going for like how many hours, and so another man's already in my house. Like, what?
I would be so.
And how it led up to that was crazy too, because obviously it wasn't like from the gate like I'm with somebody else. It just kind of it led up to it, and it was just like, and you kind of felt it coming. It's like it was like, is this woman like what's going on here? Why is she being sneaky and weird? And then it comes out, it's like, God,
The dude was living in her house until that day the plane came back.
Yeah.
Like, Olive group, like Olive basically was calling him dad essentially too, like, because he'd been through everything. Like, that was the wildest part to me. Like, I'm like, okay, this is, it kind of sucks. Like the whole Michaela Mick situation, like she was kind of over Jerry in the first place, I feel like. So like, I didn't really feel bad that he married a best friend, because I think she would have told her, like, he would have told him no anyway. I don't know. But Ben, I felt bad because he loved his wife, and she didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing she did wrong, but like, I just like, damn, bro, like, you have to live with that. And then like during the season, she finds out that she's pregnant too, and then she like, I don't know whose it is.
Oh, that was like,
yeah.
I don't know whose it is.
Wait,
that was tough.
But now that I'm thinking about it, how did she not know? Because I mean, did it happen like right when he landed and like they went for it, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think it was like
I don't remember that.
I think it was like a time frame, if I remember correctly. Like, I mean, it took her like a little bit, but it didn't seem like too much time progressed between them, like coming back and being physically intimate. Like, seemed like maybe a couple weeks or something like that. Like, the time frame, I guess, makes sense within like when it could have happened, when she could have been pregnant.
Gotcha.
So who knows? But that just means that still, like, the day before he came back, she was getting it in. So That's tough to realize as the husband. But one thing I did like realize too, looking back, I'm like, what happened to the boyfriend? Like all this stuff's going down,
Yeah, that's
and
a
the
good
boyfriend, like he was there for a few episodes, like a good bunch of season one, but he didn't appear again in any of the seasons. Like
Yeah, I
none
was
of them.
thinking that about Jared's ex-wife.
Wife too.
I was
Yeah.
like, dang, I was like, they just kick,
They're
y'all
like,
serve your purpose, type thing.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, so more stuff. I mean, we see like the beginning of like everything going down with the government too. They are crazy essentially because they're trying to figure out like what the hell happened with this plane. Probably because they wanted to harness some of the powers. Like the 828ers, they're called because that's the name of their plane. Started getting these callings as well. And we basically most of season one is them like figuring out like why they're seeing these flashbacks or what they think is flashbacks. They're calling callings, and they start solving some of these different crimes based off of stuff that they're seeing. And so it was, I don't know. Did you guys kind of think that that was where the show was going to go? Like, I don't know. When I was watching, I was like, is this like what the show's going to be about? I don't know. That's what started confusing me because I was like watching season one. And I'm like, is this going to be the premise of the show now? Like they're just cops that solve cases because of the callings?
Yeah, no. I was like, I didn't. Yeah, like that direction of the Collins, like just totally threw me for a loop, and I was like, okay, so, and I kept wanting the Collins to be explained, like why
Mm-hmm.
they have those Collins to be explained, but it just never got explained. Um,
Right.
and then another little segue, like the whole movie, I think that their acting was really corny. Like the acting, the line delivery, like it was just very corny. It was like
Yeah,
the way they acted, and maybe it's CW, maybe it's just like they're
CW.
like the way it was like very corny. So I was just wondering what is going on, and then they just never explained stuff. So yeah, I didn't think it was gonna go that direction, but that kept me intrigued as well. They were really good at keeping us intrigued without like completely like just like us being, nah, we're not watching this, we're going. They kept like drawing us in without like actually giving us the carrot, just like dangling the carrot, like, and we kept following.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like hitting you over the head with it. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the the very first like I think what the very first like time we got exposed to it was like when Mick was on a run, right?
yep.
And all of a sudden, there was like it's like what's going on? And I same thought as y'all. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, so but they got off the plane crazy, So and then but whenever like real stuff was being exposed from these callings that they call it, and it was like finding like sex trafficking rings, like human trafficking
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And I'm like, wait a minute, so I'm just like what is, I'm like, what is really going on here? Like even though like I feel like the concept of them getting like these random like messages is like weird and kind of like I need to know more about that. But the fact that it led to like situations like that, it's like what you said, Z, like kept me like kind of hooked and like wanting to know what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even going a little bit towards like the end. I know we're not there yet, but like all the powers, they start quote unquote powers. I'm just like, so now we have powers. Like, what in the world? Those Collins, now you can actually like they have physical powers. Like, is this a supernatural show or something? Like, it
Right.
was wild, but
and
yeah,
and that's what kind of, and I think that's what had me hooked until the very end. Was I'm like, so what is this? It's like, should we looking at this more on like on a religious spiritual level, or is this more like scientific?
yeah,
I'm like,
that's the thing. The
'cause it just
balance between science and spiritual. They never wanted to pick a side, and it's
yeah,
like,
exactly. And that was a little frustrating because I really wish that I think it would have. I think it was kind of like a appease the masses move. It was just like it's like keep people who are into their religion or like spirituality, satisfied, but also like people who are probably a little bit more like logical and like explain everything by science type thing. Like I think there was enough for everybody, but I just really wish that it was more like determined, you know.
yeah,
They didn't really give us that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say for me, like the callings, like I thought it was gonna be like a call, like each episode was gonna be like a new, which it kind of was in the very like first season. It was like this new calling, and like that. The only reason I stayed through season one because I was like, okay, so they're at some point in this season they're gonna explain what happened with this damn plane, And it was like every single episode was just like a new calling, new situation,
Nope.
new calling, new
Right.
situation, new calling. And I'm okay, I'm keep watching. They're gonna explain something that happened to this plane. Something like what happened with this plane. They never do. And that's literally why I got to season one. But like the callings at first to me, I was like, this is stupid. Like this every single I not stupid. Let me not say that. But I just didn't want it to be like, oh, new calling, new episode, we're gonna solve a calling. That's the whole episode. Like I wanted to
Yeah.
understand like what was going on, not just like calling of the week type episodes. And I feel like that's what it started off at, but it
But
did
it was all
eventually morph
connected.
into it's all connected. Yeah, it started to morph into actually like telling a full story versus just like, oh, Mick has a calling, she's gonna go solve it, right? Like her situation with her friend that died from a car crash or whatever, drunk driving. But we're also introduced to a few other people as well in the show, main characters that throughout the show kind of stick around. We have the leader of the CIA, Vance, who it plays a big part that we think is kind of evil at first, but actually is a good dude. We also have Zeke, who is his story made absolutely no sense in connection with the entire story. But for those that haven't watched the show, Zeke is he freezes to death in the cave, but then is alive. And so they use that to kind of justify what's going on with the plane because, like Z said, it's all connected. But like his introduction into it is a big part of the story, but it makes absolutely no sense on why he freezes in the cave, but then is still alive because that doesn't make sense.
At the same time as the plane disappearing, that he was like waking up as well, or like
I
I
don't
don't
remember.
get it. So it was not even the same
It
time
was
frame.
like, yeah, it was a different time period. It was
Yeah,
like
because they
he
were back. Yeah,
died
they were back. They were
before
back.
they went to the plane, right? Something like that.
Yeah, no, they were back by them because they show us at the end of the season. No, take it back. Because he was supposed to pick up people. He was picking up people at the airport when the plane should have been back, and
Oh,
it wasn't.
right, right.
So this was like they 2018. He was still alive at that point, and then he went camping because that happened. That all that happens in season one of like them going and finding him or him finding her and all of this stuff, and he having
Yeah.
a
Okay,
photo
so
of Mick.
Wait, so does that mean that like Mick is gonna stop him from going camping if he never went camping? With
yeah, most likely.
oh my gosh, this is this is a lot. Like what?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a
So
lot.
all that never happened. So it's not really connected.
It
Okay.
is. It is connected. We'll get to that point. It is connected. But anyway, so yeah, so we introduced to Zeke, obviously. Sanvi Ball, who is a doctor that actually cures cancer and is a big part in saving Cal. And then, like you guys are already talking about, Adrian, who leads the church of the
Mhm.
believers, or whatever it was called. He's a big character in season one as well.
I'm
Their
just gonna
characters
say,
play out.
as a Christian, I was cringing a lot. I was cringing, especially when they justified their evil works and was like, because God told me that. I was like, oh, stop it. It was so cringe. I felt like
Yeah.
fighting them, but it was like it was so fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the key moments I wrote down for season one. Anything else you guys want to add in there, or thoughts or comments on any of that stuff that happened?
Yeah, season one. It was just a whole bunch of confusion, but I was just curious to see what was gonna happen. But
Yeah.
it was still fun though, like the end of the day. I feel like season one was like a strong season. The other seasons, I feel like season two and three, and even the first half of season four was not really as strong. So, but I don't know why I kept watching anyway. But I think the last part of season four really did bring it together and explain a lot of things. Um, but season one was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like season one was definitely, it came out hard, so it's like there's just no way that you can walk away from season one being like, I'm done with this show. And like
Thanks.
you're a different person if you can do that, because you know how they set it up was just like, okay, like I don't care about, you know, what else they have to talk about. I just want to know what the hell's going on. So that's why you kept watching, you know. So yeah, season one was a doozy.
That was me the entire again, like I said, that was me the entire time I watched this. And like after season two, I'm like, okay, I watched season two specifically because I was like, okay, now I'm gonna get some answers. Still didn't get any answers, but now I'm 2 seasons in and I'm invested my time into this. So now I'm gonna have to I need these answers, so I'm gonna keep watching past
Yep.
season two as well. But so key moments I wrote down for season two. First thing I said was shit gets crazier because like they just packed a whole bunch of stuff into really two and three of like religion of people hate each other. Like, not only is the government after the A28ers to figure out what the hell's going on, but then you have all these like anti-Xers of people who just hate 828 and are trying to kill passengers. There's a whole like fire situation that goes down. Like, there's so much stuff that happens within like season 2. This like, what in the world is going like why are they hated so much? That never made sense to me. Like, to me, like the hatred piece, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to like create a theme or something behind the show, but like I didn't understand that at all. I don't know if you guys caught that piece of everything, but it didn't make sense to me.
For me, I felt like I don't know. I'm always like the person that I try to find out like what's the message and and like and stuff like whether that's music, movies, shows. And I just felt like I'm like, okay, what are they conveying here? It's like are they kind of putting a mirror in front of our face? Because if I'm being honest, like I kind of thought about, I think that's just kind of how people are. Like there's with almost anything that you can think of, there's always going to be like somebody on either side of the coin. Either like you're going to be for it or you're going to hate it. And you don't even have to know exactly all the details. That's just how people are. That's how people are. So I think they just wanted to highlight that of being like, just things happen that people don't know the full story and don't know all the facts. But this is, an aftermath of like, how people are and like, what they do. So I just feel like they honestly kind of put like, they just made something based off of like what happens in the real world, honestly.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it would be weird if people didn't hate, because this was like a global thing. Like no one has ever seen anything like this happen. Like people disappeared for 5 years. They came back. They look exactly the same. Nothing has changed. Like on the spiritual side, people are gonna think this is an abomination, the end of the world, whatever. And on the scientific fact like side, people are gonna want to like test them as lab rats and see what's going on. Like it just made me think, because I watched this Black Mirror episode. Shout out to Black Mirror, they just came out. But this Black Mirror episode where it's new, so no spoilers, but this is gonna be a spoiler. Can I say a spoiler or no?
Go ahead.
Okay. So this spoiler where basically this guy, he's an astronaut, so they're astronauts, right? But they recreated his body on Earth, and then he's able to like sleep, like, and his consciousness transfers on Earth, and he lives a regular life with his family and stuff. But people actually like break into his house, like kill his kids and his wife, and actually like cut him open just to like see, like, you don't even bleed, like how is this happening? And they justified themselves doing that. So it was like similar to the 828ers. Like people will be curious, like, you just came out from nowhere, like, no, this is not normal. Like I understand where the hate came from, but like Dee said, that's just human nature. Like I think it made a lot more sense that they were haters, because if people were not onto them and it was just the government, that would be weird, because people obviously like want to figure out things for themselves as well, and like want to either hate on this like religious standpoint or scientific, whichever way. So the Xers, I think that's what they were called, the Xers. It made sense to me.
That's good. That's good. That's a good perspective. I was just like, this is getting weird, because like the church stuff, people thinking that they're like archangels and all this other stuff. I'm like, what is going on?
Even that too, like what I was saying about like, just putting a mirror in front of our face. I felt like it was like that too. Like there's countless of situations where that's very real, in today's society. Like, you just cut on the news or just find something on YouTube where it's like the same thing. And it's just so funny because it's like you watch it on a show because it's not reality necessarily, and it's so cringy. But whenever it's like happening in your real world, like you can be so blinded by, like the same foolishness that's on a TV show, but it's actually happening in reality too.
Yeah. So typically that happens in Florida. So stay away from Florida.
No, Florida people are made differently.
They view different.
That's funny. So some other points I made from the season were big point, Zeke and Mick get married. So that I know like that was a big deal because Jared got all jealous about like Zeke and Mick. And actually I talk about in season 1, Mick gets shot because Jared is jealous and all that situation happened.
It was because of both, right?
So we didn't talk about the plot, but Zeke had a gun. Zeke had a gun. Jared's like, you shouldn't be having a gun. They fight over the gun, and then it goes off, and Mick gets shot. But then she defends, and then you see like her love for Zeke kind of like it's like it was so quick, like it was rapid ascent to like we're together. And I honestly, I guess we'll talk about it too because there was a lot of like relationships in the show, and I felt at first I felt weird about Mick and Zeke, but after a while I was like, this makes perfect sense. They are like perfect for each other.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I was still Team Jared.
Yeah, I was rooting for Jared too. But
I was Team
Zeke
Jared.
Actually makes more sense. Zeke makes more sense for Michaela, but
I agree.
We were just rooting for Jared because we low key had crush on Jared. Not gonna lie, but
true. Jared dated so many girls in the show too. Like, if you look at how many girls Jared dated, it was like there was two different girls. Like it was I don't know. It was kind of interesting. Like they're just like, okay, put Jared with another girl this season. Put Jared with another girl this season.
Right, put Jared with Mick's new partner. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, been somebody else, you know?
We'll get to Drea Makami, but like there were certain relationships in this show, and we'll talk about that. I'm like, I was 100% for like Zeke and Mick. I was 100% for.
Am I the only one that saw how? Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on her name?
Tommy.
Yes, am I the only one who saw that coming? I was like, I know they're setting something up here. I know they're setting it up. I just don't know when it's gonna happen, but something's gonna happen. I was like, I was like, why are they doing this? I was like, he got a whole wife and kids, you know? I'm like, why are they doing that? Gross, you know? And then they stopped, you know, they kind of like they put it out there, you know, they just put it out there, they let it settle, and then bam.
Yeah.
I wanted them to be in game so badly.
I was like, I mean, it makes sense at the end because they came back, but I'm just like, I really wanted that. That was like the one relationship that I really wanted to happen, but it didn't happen. So
that's funny. But yeah, so we'll get to relationships. So we'll talk about that because Ben and Savio was my favorite, and I want to talk about them a lot. But Zeke and Mick get married. It's a big deal. We found out that Grace's baby is actually Ben's, which is a good thing because she has callings as well. It's all tied to the baby. So then you're like, okay, I don't have to feel weird about the situation. And I think also they were just done with that character for the boyfriend. Otherwise, they probably would have included him. Like it would have been his baby, and he still would like been around and like turned into like a good guy or something for the team. But they were like, I feel like he just got written off, and they were like, okay, we're done with this. We'll have Ben's the father, and that's it. We're also introduced to TJ. So TJ is Olive's
boo thing.
Yeah, boo thing. Ends up being Olive's boo thing. He was which is kind of weird though. Like he was the same age. I get it. 5 years have passed, but like I don't know how I kind of feel about it. You know what I mean? Because she was a little girl before.
It didn't end like it didn't age well towards the end. It was like, oh, that's kind of gross.
Yeah. At the end, I was like, oh, okay, no. I was like, no.
Like she did get older, and I guess that makes sense. But like, I'm like, that's kind of weird. But when she's TJ, Olive gets into like the whole solving ancient civilizations. We're introduced to like Alzira's journal. A lot of like ancient civilization stuff starts to pop up, and that's when we start getting to like.
I love that.
Did you like all the tarot cards?
Like, yeah. Well,
I was confused.
Jeez, no. Well, because I'm a history buff. Like I just love history. And like I love whenever they can just tie in things to kind of point to that. And I think that's another thing that kind of kept me hooked onto it because I like the fact that it's like not just people just kind of making up stories. It's it's based off of things that have actually happened, and especially when it's stuff that like that's not really talked about, like you earlier, Z, when you're talking about like like why do people want to kind of keep this on the hush, or why isn't the story like really hasn't really even been like known, so like taking time to like I'm like when they would bring up stuff about what was the guy's name for the boat, like was it Alazair or something like that?
Alzira,
something like that. Yeah, and I was like, is this a real story, or is this a real person? And you look it up, and it's like, and it's true. And I'm like, well, what do you know? So that got me even more like it just their teeth like sunk into me even more, realizing that there's really kind of based off of like true stories and like things that that have actually happened to people. So yeah, one of
I
my
feel like I was on the other side of that because I'm really into like um Christian theology and like Bible history. So like a lot of things with like Noah's Ark and like a lot of things they were saying, like I was like I could sense like, okay, is this true? Is this like, and they were saying true stuff, like the Bible scriptures, everything was like true, but they were mixing it up with all these other like stuff that I had no like knowledge about. So I was confused. I didn't even like look stuff up. I was just like, whoa, like I don't know. I didn't know if it was actual like mythology and stuff, but I could confirm as far as like on the Bible theology side, like a lot of things they were saying were true. So that kept me intrigued as well, because I was like, okay, are you guys gonna like come out and like give this whole thing like the world's gonna come to an end type story?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? I had no idea, but yeah, it was interesting overall on that.
Yeah, and like I said like earlier, like I felt like they just kind of like appease the masses, because I think it was a dipped in everything. It was dipped into religion, so they use like scriptures and actual stories from the Bible, but it's like they dipped into, like you mentioned, Z, like mythology and other things like tarot, but it's just like, it's just, but it, like, when you think about it, it's like Bible and like and like the mystics, those things don't naturally like mix together. So
And to that point, not to cut you off, but to that point, like I was really looking for them to like cross the line, because they didn't really cross the line when it came to like even the Bible stuff, because they didn't like, because I was expecting them to like go the other way and like try to defame, but I don't know how to put it, because like every time like Angelina, for instance, would say like God told me to do this, blah blah blah. Like you would see Mick and other people that are like, no, God did not tell you to do that. Like you told you to do that. So like they didn't even like take it to the other extreme and was like, well, God is making you like do all these things. So it was confusing, but I was waiting for them to cross the line on the like Christian or like theology side. They didn't really do that. So they were really smart at not the extreme.
They weren't trying to get canceled.
They were trying to play the game, and they did it well. I'm gonna say they did it well. I still didn't like it, but they did it well.
Right, I agree, and that's what I thought that was cool, because it's so hard to try to dabble in those different things into like one storyline, because it's like, I'm like, is it this or is it this? It's like don't be trying to play both sides. But it's like, but for me, what like how I kind of took it was just like, at the end of the day, like there is one true story, and then all this extra stuff kind of falls into it, whether if it's like true or false. It, like you said, Z, it's still all connected in some type of way.
I hate that we're using that. I hate that we keep on using that.
I know, it's so creepy. I'm like, why do we just
they say that in the show? They're like, it's all connected.
I know.
But no, but like it's true though. It's just like, even though like when things are like, people take things like the wrong way and start making like things that are tools and sources as like the source, when that's not right, but I think I think they did a good job at blending things together for the sake of like the storyline, but like what you said, Z, like without it getting like blasphemous or
I was really waiting for that. I was like, say something, but they didn't say it. I was like, but it's still wrong. But it's still like, you're not blatantly saying anything. But anyway, I get your point.
So season 2, like I said too, it just opens up, like it's season 1 starts off with like this like precious idea, and like they're expanding a little bit, and the season 2 they just like open the box and then shit just get crazy. They're like, this is there, there's so much stuff. Like there's a central storyline. You're still trying to figure out like what the hell is going on with this damn plane, but there's just so much different things that happen. On top of that, obviously Zeke survives his death date as well, so you're like, okay, there is hope. And then they figure out like the only way from them to stay alive through this whole thing is to start obeying these callings that they're getting to do, because that's how Zeke stayed alive. Was he saved? I think it was Cal that fell through the ice, but he saves Cal, and Zeke survives.
Didn't Salvi survive her death date? That wasn't her death date, but she survived. Why did she survive? Like, because she killed that lady by accident, and then
the major.
So like, why did she survive that? And then again, she survived her death date. Like, I don't understand Savvy. And then she lost her callings. Like, her character specifically was really confusing to me because I'm like, okay, first of all, she was supposed to die. She didn't die. Isn't that supposed to be like the renewed, like, why did she then still have a death date? If that makes sense.
Well, so that's a great question. So that happened in season 3. So season 3 is when she gets like the situation where she's like bleeding from her eyes and her nose and everything. And then like she survives because she admits her guilt. And I don't know. Like I don't know why the season, like it was like torturing her specifically. Maybe because she was messing with her callings, or she was doing something that she was messing with. I have no idea. Like that show just,
I think she removed her callings, right?
she did for a minute, but like she got him back, I think, or something happened. I don't remember specifically because she started seeing Collins again. But yeah, so that was like key moments from season 2. Anything else you guys want to add in from season 2? Thoughts, comments?
No, I feel like honestly everything is just kind of like, for me, it's blended all together.
It's
like
all blended.
I couldn't even call out a specific thing that happened in season 2 because it's like there's just so much to unpack, and it all bleeds together.
Yeah, majority of season 2 was just like them solving callings, the situation with the guy that thinks they're all like angels and they can survive being angels by burning down everything. There was a lot of just like different, like more calling situations. The A28ers and the Xers was a big deal for season 2 too. Obviously Jared killing people. Like it was basically just like, here's callings, people hate us. And then like Zeke surviving his death day was a big deal because it kept him alive.
The whole church thing, was that season 2 as well? Like with that guy. Oh
yeah,
God.
so season 2,
Adrian and
yeah,
his, like, following.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So season 1 and season 2 were big with the church because that's when like he built it up, and then the church, and then because of the whole like fire situation where the guy burns down the club, he brings everybody from A2A into the club and he burns it down because he thought that they're all angels. That kind of disbanded the church because Adrian got blamed, and that's also when people hated A2Aers even more. So
yeah,
people died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I got serious.
That's season 2. Season 3, keynotes I wrote on season 3 was the biggest one I wrote. Season 3 was the biggest mistake in TV history I've ever seen. Is Ben and Mick save Angelina from her parents, and we find out later in the seasons that that's the worst decision anybody could ever made, because they befriended this girl named Angelina. That viewers, if you're watching this, you have no idea unless you watch the show. Angelina is a terrorist.
We didn't need this character, in my opinion.
My thing with Angelina.
But you did. You needed somebody. You needed a villain. And she was the villain.
Out of everyone, it's like this 5'2", 120 pounds or something, like little ass girl over here terrorizing everyone. Like, how did she get so much power so fast? Someone could have taken her out.
That's what I meant. Like we didn't need her. I was like she could have had like her time of like adversity, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't think she needed to stay that way. Like I feel like maybe if Adrian like continued on like kind of just like building his following and it was just like something crazy like that, I think I would have liked that more. But I was just like, literally every time I saw her, I'm like, why is this girl still relevant?
Exactly.
Like,
because Adrian saves her.
Why won't she die?
Adrian saves her multiple times.
Plot twist, because I'm like, how did they take the biggest villain and just put it in such a like tiny, like insignificant, like she was really insignificant character, and just make her to be this monster? Like, I feel like the monster could have had a bigger impact if it was someone, maybe they didn't want to make the monster so like scary and so like, you know, like someone with more character, more depth. Like Angelina seems like a basic white girl that was just over here in her privilege terrorizing everyone. I was so pissed. I was like, what is it about this little girl that she could just terrorize everyone and no one could take her out? Like grown men were like after her, like they could have like literally taken her out. But I guess it's all quote unquote connected, because like he was meant to save her. He was meant to save her at the end. So like that wasn't, so it wasn't his daughter over like the whole time, like going through the fire with, you know, it was Angelina, like someone who like literally caused your family all this harm, like you still saved her. Anyway, so it was just, Angelina's character was so confusing because I'm like, they could have been other interesting villains. Why is it?
Right. I think it's how she was introduced, I guess I don't even know if you call it character development, but
Yeah.
but it's just like it was definitely 0 to 100. Like the transition was just like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with the plane. I don't care about this girl, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's just like she just started getting all weird, and I'm like, no, I don't care about this girl, you know.
True. That's literally that's what I was saying. But I was hoping, is it Zeke? No, the other guy. That I said was cute. No,
Jared.
I was hoping Jared would be the villain because there was a time where he was like associating with the extras, and I thought he was gonna like just go downhill and be this awesome villain. Like I see Jared's character evolving to be a really, really cool villain that he could have gathered followers, and it could have, because it would make sense because of like the hate, like from the hate he got from getting his heart broken by Mick and everything, and just taking it on it. That's the type of character I was hoping.
Niggas real life be doing stuff like that. They be acting for you, and then whenever, like, you know, they just can't handle it anymore. What you're going through, it ain't even about them. They just
exactly. They just go off the rails.
And that's real life.
Just go straight up like bonkers. It's like I'm terrorizing all these A2-aters. Y'all are all going down. But he didn't go.
Sometimes a girl breaks your heart. You just have to have your villain arc. I get it. I understand. Sometimes you get your heart broken.
Villain era.
I have your villain era.
Is that what the villain era is?
Yeah.
I don't. Really quick, I know we haven't mentioned this character yet, and I don't know if you have anything to set this up with, Savon, but I know Angelina was like the person, but I think like maybe one notch above her for me was Egan.
Okay.
I think, bro, this dude was just as much as a cockroach as she was, if not worse, because it's like, if there's a person that, at least like Angelina was like, at least she had like, you know, that like statement about her, you know what I mean? It's like she knew what she wanted and she made sure that everybody knew what it was, you know, and like she didn't care if anybody disagreed with her. This phony Judas that was like just playing everybody for his own gain, like that was worse for me, because I was like, look, I don't like the girl, but she's true to who she is and she's letting people know. But this snake is just being disgusting. So at like literally I had trust issues when it came to him. I'm like, I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't know if he's gonna, you know, really stay loyal and true to the people like he's saying he's riding with, or, you know, and
he's a con man. That was his thing. He was a con man, and he has a photographic memory. I did have a note that said
that was crazy.
We're introduced to Egan, but he has a photographic memory and he's a con man. So no, 100% did not trust him. I mean, he even kidnaps Ben in the season too. Like season 3 is where we're introduced to Egan and his character and him being around. I didn't think he'd hang around as much as he did. Like when he went to jail, I was like, oh, it's over. And like his character just stayed. Like his character just stayed. I was like,
why does he keep coming back?
Yeah.
No, I would actually say the opposite for Egan, because Angelina, she was so delusional that she thought she was doing good. She was like justifying. She actually thought she was pure, because at the end when like Kaur would still confront her, it was like, you can like pay for your sins. She was like, my sins? I'm here to do God's work. You know, she was justifying her evil. Egan was like,
but they already knew that though. They knew that straight up was like,
Egan was like, the only ass I save is my ass. But like
he was a wild card.
He let everyone know up front he was for himself, and that's it. Angelina, it was the manipulative one, manipulating everyone, even the little girl, and just like she didn't realize, like she wasn't conscious of her evil. She really thought like she was justifying everything she did because she was so delusional to the fact that she was doing wrong. Whereas Egan knew he was bad. He was like, I know I'm good. Like that's why he sacrificed his life at the end, because he was like, okay, well, I know I'm going to hell, basically. But Angelina, she really was still crying to God after all the evil she did, because she thought she was doing good. She's the more messed up one, in my opinion. Like Ian, we knew what he was doing up front, but Angelina was so like oblivious to the fact.
I think that's what it is, though. It's just like I'm not gonna say like I'm not gonna fault ignorance, but that's what it is. Like she was just full-blown ignorant, and that's what people like knew already. But I think my beef with Egan is that he was a full-grown man that knew exactly what he was doing, and it's just like, but it just playing all sides. But like, everybody already knew that this girl needs help. She's
no one was surprised at Egan. Yeah.
No, but like, okay, what was the situation where like Ben, like didn't he get like Ben, like, what wasn't you say like kidnapped and like all of this?
He kidnapped Ben.
Like,
because the reason why he kidnapped Ben is because again, this talks about another point I had, but like Ben starts believing this lifeboat theory, that everything, like everybody's like tied together to his lifeboat, and it's on Ben to like lead this lifeboat and tell people you need to do this, you need to do that, and they start pissing all the aviators off of like, who are you to be the leader, all this other stuff. So Egan was the same way. He was like, bro, you need, like, we don't want you. So like it was kind of interesting because there was the government after them, there was Xers after them, and then like they had this internal dissension between the passengers and like the people that wanted to be part of the lifeboat, quote unquote, and do good things, but then also like people that are like, F you, bro, I don't want to do what you're doing because I could care less, whatever. And so that kind of like the lifeboat theory that spawned, because of like TJ and Olive and stuff like that, and them understanding like everything is tied together. That's what spawned the hatred of Ben and Egan situation.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think it just grinds my gears whenever somebody like they just choose to do wrong. Like when they're not ignorant. They just choose to be bad. You know what I mean? Or like they just choose to not do the right thing, even though they know what the right thing is. And versus like when you're like you don't even really know what the right thing is. Like you think what's actually wrong is right to you. That's different. That's why Egan really pissed me off because again, it's just like the selfishness, bro. It's like,
no, I felt like that was narcissism on like Angelina because she was really thinking she was all that. Like I was like the audacity.
So she wasn't in the beginning though. So we're talking about this like season 4. Season 4, she was like, I am that bitch basically because I have this sapphire. But season 3, like she went from just this person who was like persecuted by her family to like this girl in their house to like she thought that Eden was like her guardian angel because of this whole situation with like she saved her from the falling thing. And then that's when like when that happened and she became obsessed with Eden, that's when like the craziness really took off because like she had the obsession with Eden, she got kicked out of the house by Grace. She's like, that's my guardian angel, I need her, comes back and RPs Grace and kills Grace, right? So like that was like her like 0 to 100. It's like she was just like a normal person and she went super crazy real quick and then like took Eden and was like, I'm, she's my guardian angel, I need this person, yada yada. And then as the season 4 progresses, she becomes like, she's not my guardian angel, I'm the angel and I'm the archangel and all this other stuff.
Yeah. But even before that, she was still delusional when she was like taking care of Eden and still like telling her all these lies, like making her like believe that's like she's her mom and her dad is bad. Like she was still delusional at that point. Yep. But I see what you mean. Like she definitely went like she was like bad and then she just like once she dropped Eden and started believing she was her guardian angel, that was another level of like crazy. So
yeah. And that was she left Eden in season 4. We'll get to that. But season 3, we see her last episode we see is Grace dying. And that definitely was sad because I was like, dang, Grace, because Grace was like, she just had Eden, she was into the situation. It's like, I'm gonna solve my husband's death day. She's being a great woman, and then she gets killed, which was unexpected. But there's a lot that happened in season 3. I mean, we could talk about it, I'm not going to, but like there's a whole like situation with the tailfin. There's Noah's Ark they throw into the lava. There's a lot of stuff like Bible stuff out there.
How catching the tailfin, and that was a whole crazy situation.
Getting older,
coming back grown,
coming back grown,
watching his mom die.
There's so much that happened in that third season. When I was watching it back, I was like, this is a season that just had the most amount of stuff that just made. And this really season 3 was kind of where I was like, I mentally was like, bro, I am done with this show, but I need to know what happened. I literally was done. Season 3 was I was like, I'm done. Like I am done with this show because like they have the plane. What's the plane captain's name? Daily. Yeah, he comes back. And I'm like, what just happened? How is he back?
Yeah.
Like it's like I was like, you're not telling me anything. Like we have the Noah's Ark. I was like, where did Noah's Ark come from? We have the freaking Telfin back. Like I'm like
Noah's
all this
Ark.
stuff.
Freaking Noah's Ark. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So Noah's Ark came in just because it's like they're basically trying to say that like it kind of had the same like the same type of energy that was with associated with the plane,
Correct.
with Noah's Ark. But what I was confused is I was like
the God stuff.
Like right, exactly. So I'm
God
like,
seasoning.
you don't want it to be
exactly.
like,
I'm like,
want it to be biblical, or are you wanting to make this like a more like sci-fi kind of like unexplainable thing? I was like, so yes, again,
they
there was no gap, like bridge for like the gap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which also doesn't make sense too, because they said the Telfin. I think looking back, maybe if I remember correctly, the Telfin they said was in the lava, but she threw the Noah's Ark into the lava. So like, if the sapphire is attached to the Telfin, how did he, with his tattoo or whatever it was, like connect to the lava if that was gone? I don't know. That might be my confusion there, but we'll get to season 4 as well. But yeah, season 3 was crazy. Any other thoughts, comments before you get to season 4 and everything that was the last season of Manifest? It's been a good conversation.
I think season 3 as well just shows the government and their evil, how they capture people and literally start testing on them, like no remorse, like they just went full government.
Every season.
I know, but they really messed up those people too. So yeah, that was another part of season 3, but
yeah, perfect. Well, that brings us to our last season, and really the season that we all watched. Season 4. Obviously, we watched part 2, but I'm sure everybody obviously watched season 1 or part 1 of season 4 too. So my question for you guys is, when you guys found out this was last season, like what were your expectations going into the season? What were you expecting?
I need answers. I was like, if they just keep creating more questions than answers, I'm gonna be very pissed off.
Yeah.
I feel like, we'll get to it, but like I feel like I wasn't entirely left with like, all my questions answered, but I didn't walk away feeling like what the heck, like entirely. So I think they did it a little bit. They still kind of dropped things that were like, oh my gosh, what's this gonna lead to? But I was glad that they started kind of wrapping it up. They started bringing the plane in for a landing, literally.
I wanted answers, and I was really thinking that the world was gonna come to an end, because they were referencing Noah's Ark so much. I thought, okay, the A2-8ers are the passengers. They're the last one. They go to the plane. God destroys the world. They come back and they start society. That's what I thought was gonna happen. Literally, I thought the world was gonna come to an end. And even at the end, they kind of hint that where everything was exploding. I was like, oh shoot, like this was really gonna happen. But yeah, it's just like it all came full circle, but it still didn't answer like a lot of my questions. But it answered most questions. But I really thought it was like end times apocalypse, like except something major happened. But they just I think the ending was just kind of what I read? I read that it was supposed to be a season, like it was supposed to go to 6 seasons, I believe, or 5 seasons. Like it was supposed to be like that's the original show they wrote. I think that's why season 4 had part 1 and 2, because I think that's season 5 and part 2, and there was supposed to be a season 6. So they kind of just jumbled it up in one. Yeah. So that's why it still didn't make sense, because there was supposed to be more to that. That's what I read. I don't know if it's true or not.
I mean, that's the case. I don't know if I physically could have done it. Like, if you had told me, if in season 3 you told me there's gonna be 3 more seasons, I would be like, I'm done with this story.
Yeah.
But because it was the 4th season, like I didn't know it was the last ending when I watched it. But I mean, I figured kind of like there'd be some answers by now. Like I was like, okay, they have to get to some answers, and they do give you like some stuff, like there's this God frequency, and like these people were like in the presence of God or whatever it was, like the void, whatever they called it. You know what I mean? Like it was like this glow where they're stuck. Daly and Fiona were stuck in like this glow, or whatever. So they do start giving us answers, but I'm still like, I just felt like the whole show, I'm like, what am I watching? Like, it wasn't like I
Yeah, I
wasn't
was like, where is this
captivated.
gonna go?
I wasn't captivated because like it was a good story. I was like, what is going on? Like literally, it wasn't. This show was never to me like, man, this is an amazing show. To me, it was
Right.
just like, I just want to know what
I
is
want to
happening
know what's happening.
because I have
Yeah.
no idea. Like, they just kept on watching because I'm like, what is happening? Some parts I was like, okay, this is a good show, but sometimes I'm like, what is going on? Like Angelina, like you guys talked about it, like season 4 starts off with like the situation going down with Angelina and Eden. Like she's had Eden for 2 years now. She's been spreading lies about like her dad. Eden's growing up. They're trying to find Eden, and that whole situation goes down. Does no, Cal gets cancer. Yeah. So season 4 is where Cal's cancer comes back because he's been gone for 5 years. That's how that starts off as well. But majority of season, like season 1, is like finding Eden, Ben searching for Eden. He give a shit about Cal because Cal got his wife killed. Cal has cancer again because I don't know how that happened, but they never explained that. What else happens in the first part of season 1? Those like key moments as well. He gets his like dragon tattoo from the old guy. That's
Yeah.
supposed to like
Yeah.
that's
I was
supposed to
gonna
like guide
say,
him.
And it's like, why Cal? Why Cal? We still didn't get that question answered. Like,
yeah.
Cal.
Well, they did tell at the end like he got the key. Because he didn't remember anything. He doesn't remember anything happened.
Okay,
So
well,
you,
so did the other people that died.
Everybody remembers.
The
Every
other
single
people
person
that died
remembers.
remembered. The people that came out of the plane that they were already dead, but then they still came out the plane. They remembered that they died and came back.
Yeah.
What? That's so messed up.
yeah.
Well, not yeah. They remember that they lived a life. Like I don't
So is
remember
it?
that.
They're trying to say that so Cal was the only one on, like, the only kid on the plane. So he, had like maybe the
I was
best
the only one that
opportunity
didn't
to.
remember.
It was like he got to keep his childhood or something like that. Is
Right,
like what that
right.
thing
Like he got
was.
to keep his childhood.
I still don't explain why he was the chosen one and why he got.
I don't know why he was the chosen one, but he was though. Like he like all these different things. Like it happens with Cal where he gets older, and
Yeah.
like which that I don't know why. Like I was in my mind like why did they progress him? Like did they just not want to work with that child actor anymore? Like what was the point of progressing him older other than just like having an older character to work with and maybe it's easier to work with? I don't know. Like maybe it was kind of hard to solve crimes like this with a 10-year-old boy, or however old he was.
He could have done it.
Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna say, like, for the beginning of season 4, my question was, so going into it, they were like in, I don't know what you want to say, like, what do they call it, like the detention center, or
Yeah.
for them. I was thinking, I was like, did I miss something in the previous season for them like needing to do that exactly?
they sped up a lot typically. Like throughout the show, especially the end is they sped up a lot. It would be like 8 months later, and like it'd be crazy. Like what just happened?
Yeah, so I was like, they have these people captive, and I just thought it was kind of like what everyone's just been mentioning. There's just like gaps, and I didn't understand, and it was just, but it just kind of kept going on. It was like Ben was still on his mission of solving the callings, and we need to keep the lifeboat afloat, and all the extra stuff. But obviously, like there's adversity now. It's like we can't be connected, and this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
So
Also, I found it funny that Eden in part 1 is having callings. Part 2, she has zero callings. Like if you watch it, like in part 1, she's drawing on the paper
yeah,
and
she's
he's
just
trying
a
like
kid.
yeah, she's a kid. She's drawing on the paper. She's trying to find like she's like giving him clues of where she's at. And by the way, Adrian's the one of the reason why Angelina lived so much. Like Adrian hit her out at the place. He got her safe to safety a couple times. Like Adrian is the reason why Angelina was still alive. But yeah, so he's solving like where Eden's at because she's drawing stuff, and I'm like, okay, all these callings she's having, but yet part 2, she was a lot of people had callings. Eden had zero. Eden had no like point in the second part of the season other than like she jumps through the window and saves her
And
dad.
maybe I think Eden was supposed to have some type of powers, like what's his name, Zeke?
Cal, that was Zeke.
No, like Zeke, because like I think at the end of the day when she started talking to that old guy, no, that guy that was like trying to shoot them at the detention center, she kind of calmed him down. So I don't
Yeah.
know if you were hinting that she was gonna get some type of powers to like bring people down or whatever. But that's pretty much the only thing she did that I was like, okay, but there was no like call-ins or anything.
Yeah, so that was interesting. But the biggest thing that came out part one of season 4 was Zeke's death, right? So Cal has cancer. Zeke is an empath and can like take on people's feelings, and somehow that empathic frequency or whatever he does, he's able to like take on Cal's cancer, and basically he gives his life force to Cal so that Cal can go live, because Cal, like you said, is the chosen one, and it's all connected. So that was a huge deal. Obviously, Zeke's death within season 1 or part 1. He was in season 1, part 1 of season 4. What were y'all's thoughts on Zeke dying?
Mm.
She's like, RRP that nigga. I don't give a damn.
I feel like Zeke brought it on himself because he was always trying to save everyone. He just had this savior complex that he's just like, oh, I have these powers now. I'm gonna try to save everyone. Like he hurt himself a lot of times trying to save people. Right. So it makes sense that
he saw it coming. Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like
I feel like they kind of like built his character as in like this was a character that wasn't going to be made for longevity, you know, but it's like obviously they set him up to where you had an attachment to him. But like again, I just think from the beginning, like trying to help him survive his death date, and then you know just all these other things that just kept kind of happening that kind of like you know took his life. I was like, you know what, I would rather see Cal live, you know, on rather than Zeke, if I'm being honest. So
it was the right choice.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm glad, you know, like outside of like the morality of it, but it's just like for the sake of the storyline, I'm like, yes, obviously we need Cal around. So bye Zeke, you know.
Yeah. No, I would say sorry, I keep like talking before you finish. But I'll say to that point, like Zeke and Mick's relationship was just very much struggle. Like they struggled a lot because he was always going through something. Like I just feel like with Jared, it was never like that much struggle with him. Like it was more like fantasy, whatever, and it was just like, oh. But with Zeke, they were always struggling. And at the end of the day, like they didn't get that happy ending except for later, but then he died after all the things they've been through. So I just felt sad at that moment for their love story because like she chose him because she was still in love with the other guy. But she was like, even though I love him, I choose you. I'm still gonna choose you. That line that she was like, she's still gonna stick with him regardless, and she's gonna love him by force. Like I was like, okay, she was committed. And she did love him. So it was just sad to see like their story like ended right there, but then it came back and whatever. But he just needed to save everyone. But it was a sad ending to his character at that point. But it makes sense because we needed Cal. So
here's what I'm learning: if you want Z trapped into a TV show, have one-liners of love. Love one-liners. That's how you get Z. She loves it. But yeah, so that happens in part 1. I think the other part 1 is the whole Sapphire situation, which watching it back on that video, like he talks about like all the Sapphires did was like enhance their callings. Like that's the whole point of the Sapphire. And I was like, that's kind of stupid. Like if that's the original thought of like the Omega Sapphire was it enhanced their callings. And so you're supposed to like tune into like the God frequency even more, which obviously they did. Like what's her face, Angelina gets it and like it fuses with the lava and goes into her hand or whatever, and she like creating all these fissures within the earth and all this stuff going down in New York, which honestly at that point I was like, yeah, it makes sense why A2Agers are hated, because all this destruction comes from them. So I at that point I was like, okay, now I kind of understand like why people are like, okay, A2Agers need to be locked up, which obviously part 2 you see them all just like in detention camps and locked up, as well as part 1. But well, I mean, was a Sapphire a little over the top, or like what were you guys thinking when that happened? Because I was just like, when I saw that, I was like, where the hell are we going with this?
The coolest thing to me was just like I thought it was cool that they could astral project. Like I don't know if that happened in the first half, but
well, yeah, first half she learned how to use her callings. like to use the
Okay.
power of the sapphires for the callings.
Right, because I felt like that was like the biggest thing, right? Like I don't know if they could really have like super like, supernatural like things going on. I just know that like, things that they were able to do as far as communicate with people and not physically being there, or like kind of like almost like apparitions in a way.
It's
I
just in
thought
your
that was
mind,
really
literally just in your mind. Like in your mind, you see somebody right there that's not there, but only you
yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah. I thought that was pretty cool, but other than that, I really didn't like I didn't see the big significance of, what this thing does or what it was really supposed to represent for them.
Yeah. I feel like the sapphire was supposed to represent this type of hope that like it's all gonna work out. And it's interesting to see like how the way he got his sapphire, and Angelina, she literally took it, she stole it and she embedded it in her hand. She was like, I will have this sapphire. It's just crazy the way she just like literally, and then she's trying to convince Cal like we're the two, we're connected, we're supposed to like do this together, whatever. And it's just like the delusion of Angelina. Anyway, I could go on and on about her, but
Well,
it's
no, I mean that's
like,
that's that's all what part two is about. So I mean, we're bringing this, no pun intended, this plane in for a landing. Who wants to kick off key moments that they thought from part two, season four, as we get to the ending of this show?
I mean, I was just gonna say like the second half, obviously because it's like the freshest in my memory, but I was ready. Like I binged it within 24 hours. Like that was if you were asking me what I was doing June 3rd, I was watching Manifest. Probably not the best thing, but I was literally glued to my couch watching this show. And
Pause. 1 second. 1 second. Did you realize that it came out on June 2nd, and that's the death date?
I did. I was like, oh, I was like, they thought they were slick, but I was just like, the
no,
years
The
don't match.
the
So it made
days
me
don't
think,
match,
was
but yeah,
it
it came
supposed to
out on
come
June
out
2nd.
2024? I was
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make me think, I was like, was it originally supposed to come out like next year or
yes,
something?
there was supposed to
So
be.
I thought that was funny, but I was like, are we still here? Like trying to create like
Yeah,
that 2012 kind of like vibe, I feel like.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I did notice that. I thought that was cute. Whatever. But but yeah, like I was ready. I was like, I need answers. Stop like with this extra stuff. I was like, I don't even care about the callings anymore. Like
Facts.
like fuck these callings.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I need to know. I was like, I need more answers. Like, I was like, I need Sanvi to come out with more information. Like, I need like Ben to do a little bit more research. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just something that's gonna provide like tangible things that make freaking sense. But for me, it just kind of kept going with it. It's like we all don't know what's going on here. Like the audience don't know, the writers don't know, the actors don't know, the storyline doesn't know. It's just like, hey guys, all we know that we have to do is just solve these callings and we will make it to what we need to do. And that's basically what happened with the like adversity like sprinkled in here and there, like for solving them. But
Yep.
that's kind of like what it was. It was just like we don't know, we just here, we just know we got to do it, so we're doing it. I really wish that there was just a little bit more meat and a little bit more like wow factor of like, oh dang, like this is a situation, and this and that. I mean, they did it a little bit with Daly and whatever that other woman was.
Fiona.
Kind of, yeah, that kind of got me mad a little bit because I wanted to hear her at least say one word. you know
Yep.
um that one really ticked me off. It was like, I'm like, why even bring these characters back if this is what their ending was?
Yep. I agree.
So yeah, so that's kind of like top of mind when it comes to rehashing second half.
Z,
Yeah,
any thoughts?
yeah. I think the second half was just it was intriguing because towards the end I was like, oh shoot, like this is happening. Like the plane came out from the like freaking lava. I was like, oh shoot, what's gonna happen? They got in, Angelina came out, like I was like, this is crazy. I was glued in, and then they went into the glow, and then they went back, and I was like, okay, the other.
Well, don't talk about the ending. Don't talk about the ending yet. Talk about the ending.
No,
We'll
we're
get
not
to
at
the
the
end.
ending. Oh, I thought this was the wrap up. Okay.
No, this is a wrap up. When we were wrapping, we're landing the plane, but don't talk about the
Okay.
ending as of yet. I want to hold that to the end.
We're
Just
20
lead,
minutes
everything
out
leading
from
up to
the,
the ending.
gate.
Okay. I got like points on the ending, but that's yeah. So
Yeah, I mean that was for me. Like I agree with what D said. Like the whole daily situation. Like he's one of the integral parts of this whole damn thing. And like you just all that happens is he gets he gets killed because of like you said astral projection from Angelina. That made me mad because I'm like, bro, he has answers and you're not letting him speak. That's dumb. He's one of the main people. He flew the damn plane. Like he should be
Especially
speaking.
because I felt like his story was like really like it was really like it's like what is this dude gonna do? Is he really gonna come back? You know?
Yep.
And when and like and you realize it's like oh he came back, you know?
Yep.
And then we don't hear one word from
Yep. Yep.
him.
That
Look
was
cool, you know? It's like what?
the
that pissed
plagues
me
he
off.
brought back, the plagues he brought back, because like my like big biblical like references was really kicking in at that time because he brought back all these plagues,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
it was like literally they were in Egypt, and Pharaoh, the government didn't want to let them go, and he was like, I'm gonna send in all these plagues on y'all, and even like I think what's his name, Rob, sorry, the main character guy,
Jared.
no, the main guy, Mick's
Oh,
brother.
Ben.
I might call him Rob. But Ben literally said the words like "let us go," like he used that word. So like at that point, where like they were reading the Bible, like even the like Revelation and times about the two beasts like coming and like descending on the earth, like everything was like making sense, and my biblical like brain was like, oh, okay, let's see what's gonna happen. So I think the significance of him coming back was to basically rain hell on them to let them go so they can go complete their calling, their ultimate calling, which was to get on that plane and freaking leave. That was the original calling. But that was his significance. All the plagues he was bringing back was just like, I was just like, this is confusing as heck, the way they were mixing in all the biblical stuff. But yeah, it would have been nice to at least hear him say something. But how did Angelina take both of them out? She took both of them out. I was like, ain't no way. When she took the first person out, I was like, okay, but she really succeeded and took Daly out too. So that was even like more crazy.
Yeah. No, when that happened, I was like, y'all don't even deserve to get back on that plane. Are you kidding me? I'm like,
yeah.
Y'all
But she was
don't even
needed.
deserve it.
She was needed though. As much as like she did, she was again like you talked about. She was there was it was all connected. Like there's this that card said it. Like
right.
he needed to pick her up and walk her to the plane.
And I get it. I get that they were pawns just to like advance like Angelina's character. I get it. But it's just like make it make sense. You know what I mean? It's just like why like dumb down your characters, you know, just to advance another one, in my opinion. Like I just feel like they didn't play that right. Like, oh my gosh, I fell asleep. Like I don't know how she didn't talk to me. Like I don't know who Eden was talking to. Like what? Like it's just like I was like, that is lame. That is a lame, bogus ass excuse, like for like the most keyest character that we have right now in this, like, you know, right this storyline, where the storyline's at right now. And you mean to tell me this person died because you fell asleep? That's stupid. You know what I mean? It's just like add a little bit more struggle to it, at least, you know? Like that's what got me hot. That's what got me real hot. I was like, in this time, you know, like you're getting careless a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what just
back
got
to
me.
the cringy acting. With their cringy acting, like I don't know what happened. I felt their acting was just very. I was like, come on. But,
so I want to back up because there's a part of the season that pissed me off. Not pissed me off, but I just felt I got the ick, if you want to call it that, from Jared and Mick getting together. I absolutely hated that. She was dreaming of her dead husband. She had her dead husband that she's talking to, and then obviously the situation happened. She stopped talking to him, and then she gets with Jared, and then he kind of brought it up because he already knew like that was gonna happen. But like, I just felt so bad because I'm like, dog, your husband just died, and now you're about to go fool around with. I get it, he's your ex-boyfriend, like y'all gonna get married, but like still, I'm like, fam, no. Like I felt so. I didn't like it. Like that. Like when they were together, I was like, like I did not like the Jared or Mick and Jared back together.
Yeah, I feel like they did everything in their power in this show.
It's not
to make Jared and Mick not work. You know, like they almost like through like every like dramatic thing that could happen like in a relationship happen. And then I was like, you're doing too much. I was like, if y'all don't want them together, just don't have them together. I was like, you don't need to be making Dre. Oh, we're gonna get to it, I guess.
We're talking right now. I was only about to bring up, especially when Drea and Jared worked so perfectly together. I was like, this is perfect. I was like, Drea and Jared, perfect. Zeke and Mick, perfect. Which again, we'll talk about the ending, and it kind of works out. But I was like, that makes sense. And then when she got pregnant, I was like, thank Jesus, because I was like, yeah, I already knew it was gonna happen. Because I was like, nope, she's gonna get. I thought the text message she was gonna send him was like, I love you or something like that. Not that I'm pregnant. I was like, I thought she was gonna tell him she loved him or something like that. And then when she saw him with Mick, she was like, okay, I understand. And then she's like, they fast forward 8 months and she has a whole baby bump or whatever.
You how they played it where like Mick and Jared were just so lovey-dovey and literally like within the camp of like whatever else is going on, waiting for the plane, Angelina, everybody A2-aters coming, right? Whenever she kind of came to a realization that she's about to pop and like Andrea was like talking about Jared, he's gonna be a great father, and they're just kind of like goo guy, like like into each other's eyes. That's what she wants to snap and be like, go be with her. For like in my reality, if I was Drea, I'd be like, nigga, what? It's just like, so she thinks that she's just gonna snatch you away from me and just give you back on her terms, and I'm gonna be okay with it. That was I didn't like that. That was tasteless. It was
but because the situation between Makami and Andrea and Jared, what they agreed there'd be no strings attached. Like it was just casual sex. Right,
I understand that.
So like you can't get like Drea can't get mad at Jared for going with Mick because she said it was just gonna be casual, right? And that the situation shouldn't happen. And so like
I'm talking about more so him going back to Drea, knowing that that's where his heart is with Mick. But like obviously I think what makes more sense is them two. You know what I mean? I think for me, if I was that character, I don't think that would have sat well with me. Like it just wasn't realistic. I wish they would have had more time to kind of build on that a little bit.
Yeah.
And not just kind of make it so sudden, like okay, me and Mick are over, it's you and me now, let's have this baby and it's happening tonight. I was like, wait a minute, like this is I think what you're saying, it was rushed.
Yeah, I think the public was really rooting for Jared and Mick, so they just wanted us to get that extra, like them together. Especially that scene, they wanted that to happen to like satisfy the public or whatever. I don't know, because a lot of people were rooting for them. Apparently,
I was.
Yeah, I was too, but it was just a lot. Yeah, I didn't. It was too soon. Like whenever they first got back together, I remember feeling this is too soon. So when she rejected it the first time and she was like, I'm not ready. I was like, okay. I thought that was gonna be the end of it, but then they came back again, and so I was like, yeah, it was a little bit too soon, but I feel like they just wanted to kind of close that chapter and like, okay, at least we tried, and that's it, and that's it. But yeah, no, the fact that she got pregnant, I was just like, it's always something. I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, they did everything in their power to make Mick and Jared not work, and I'm like, this is just getting petty now. I'm like, just if y'all don't want them being the end, then let it be that.
But Jared and Drea, like, I like them together. So
you know who I love the most though? We already talked about it, but I rooted, especially when Grace died. I rooted so hard for Ben and Savi to get together.
I did too.
And then season 4 happens in part 2, and they kiss. And the first they kiss is diversion. And I was like, oh, it has to be. Give me more. I need more of this.
I was like, we both no, they really
I
wanted
know.
this.
The way they looked at each other drop. You see,
Vance's
look.
reaction was literally my favorite thing ever. He was
Who's?
like, "Do you mind?" Vance's, because when he
Oh
opened the
yeah.
door on him, he's like,
Yeah.
"Do you mind?" And he's like, yeah, a little." And he's like, "Y'all gonna get done playing tonsil hockey so we can save the world?"
Right.
It took me out.
And then they finally just like at the end of like the last day, they're like, F it, we're getting it done. And
Yeah.
I was like, Ben and Savi. But then she was like, you're not my end game. He was like,
Exactly. I was like, what?
I know, that was so
And
perfect.
he said he was like, I will never get over Grace, basically. And I'm like,
I was like, after everything you guys
ever
have
get
been
over their
through,
dead spouse.
after
Like, no
all
one will
the
ever get
crap,
over their spouse.
I was like, after all the crap they've been through, you're not my end game. Like, what? What is your end game? That other little girl, she don't even like. You guys have not been through stuff. They've been through stuff together.
Grace left your ass after you was gone for 5 years, my boy. Like, she's gone. Move on.
Yeah,
I was like, Ben and Savi.
No, the excuses weren't valid. They weren't valid at all.
But it was more it was fan service because like everybody wanted that to happen in the show, and so that was definitely fan service to them making out and them getting down.
Exactly, just like making Jared. Like that's the same thing with Ben and Savi.
Oh, making Jared, I was at that season. That was zeros. All right, now we can get to it. Thoughts on the ending and how it finished. Who wants to touch on it first? So for those that don't know, I'll touch on the ending of the show. Spoiler alert for anybody watching. All this shit goes down. All these actuators get on this plane that sprouts up from the ground. Basically like God telling them you need to relive what happened went down. On the plane, each person that was on the passengers were judged, quote unquote, based off of like the good deeds that they did. On their deeds, they're judged. And the ones that did terrible stuff ended up like passing away like they did in real life. And the other ones that didn't, they live and survive. And then the plane lands and it reverts back to 2013. And basically everything we just watched was essentially a dream. And they relive the regular life like normal. And there's some other things that goes down, but we can talk about the little tidbits that pop up. But who wants to talk about their thoughts on how the season ended with the whole plane situation and it landing from there? Z, your face says it all.
I'm just like, wait, so was it actually a dream? Like it was a dream?
No. So it was real. It was a real situation because nobody in 2013 knew what happened. Like in 2013, it was as if the plane took off and landed like normal. But for them, they remember everything that went down. Like they
had scars and stuff, right?
Yeah, the people that died actually like died. You know, they didn't come back. They didn't come back with everybody else. So, and that's like it's like they kind of showed it like that was going to be like the actual investigation and not just the whole plane missing. And it's like focusing on the 11 people now. That's where Vance came in. Like, how does 11 people not come back on a plane that they boarded?
Yeah.
My whole thing was just like, okay, first of all, a lot was happening back home that was unfinished and unsolved because Drea was having a baby. I thought that baby was gonna be like somehow connected to everything, but she was having a baby. Like, what's her name? I keep blanking on her name. Olive and TJ didn't get their endings, their love story. Like a lot of things was just there. And then they came back and just went back to normal. And I'm like, okay, the people, is this an alternate universe type thing where the other people at the end, because like they literally showed lava like erupting as they were driving. So did the world actually end? Did a baby die? Did all of them over there that fought so hard to make all this happen, did they actually die? Like Jared, the baby, Drea, even that little girl they were finding for 2 years, they all died. Like, is that what happened? And so now it's kind of like, okay, well, you made us attached to those other characters back home and who they were, but then you're just gonna like cancel the whole thing and like bring us back to this reality. Like, no, this reality of them, they haven't been to the struggle because we all been to the struggle. So I was just curious as to what happened back there. Is this kind of like an alternate universe type thing where like, or like, I don't know, like what happened. So my question, it answered a lot of questions about it all being like connected and everything, and I understand the storyline better. But my question is, what happened to the people back then? Did they all die? Is this an alternate universe, or like what happened? Like, so that's my.
So he foreshadowed like it's basically it's essentially saying that beginning because it's all connected. These things, as far as like the people, apparently will still happen. Like Drea and Jared are still gonna happen because it's supposed to happen, right? Like he talks about with Ben talks about with Grace. He looks forward to having their baby girl Hope, or not Hope. Sorry, what was the baby's name? Eden.
Yeah.
Because like it's supposed to happen. I said Hope. That's Drea and Jared's daughter is Hope.
Yeah.
But they like all these different. So yeah, so they don't exist anymore because you went back in time. But based off the timeline, it's not going to be the same like apocalypse situation going down. But there's still some things should still play out according to how it's supposed to, based off of like how things should work out because they know like some situations how they go down if that makes sense. But that's an interesting question though too because like like I didn't like the fact that like you said TJ and Olive like that was he comes back and she's this little girl now. It's like you love this girl, like y'all they spent their last days together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she slept in his tent, right? And then now like you go 2013 and like the love of your life is now a 10-year-old girl.
That was
right?
messed up.
Right. Do you wait for her? Clearly he didn't. Like he met the girl at the freaking whatever.
No, I know.
Fast.
I
That was
was
so
in the same setting. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Quick.
that's way too fast.
But like the love of your life, you know that it's the love of your life, but she's 10. It's like, do you wait for her? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I wish I got a little bit more closure. And I feel like what we're talking about right now is an example of that. It's just like, dang, because for me, when they boarded the plane or in the, like it was like when they started to take off and stuff like that, I was thinking, I'm like, what if they go back to like their normal lives? Like as if like nothing happened. And sure enough, it happened. And I was like, God dang cliche. But I think again, just like overall, okay, this is like something too where I was kind of like, what is this being supposed to be exactly? Like, what is this supposed to symbolize? The being that came on the plane. I was like, what is this? I was like, who is this supposed to symbolize? I was like, is it supposed to be darkness or is it supposed to be, like the judgment entity? You know what I mean? Because like I know this thing is not supposed to represent God.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's that?
The Angel of Death.
Yeah, I was like that.
Is that what it was? Was that from like a tarot card or something?
I think that was a biblical reference, the Angel of Death. They just portrayed it in a weird way because I think at the end in Revelations it talked about like in the end times like the Angel of Death is gonna come and like I'm not, don't quote me on this. I haven't really got too deep into Revelations, but I think it was something similar. I think that represented the Angel of Death, but the fact that they fought it and they started talking. They were like, "Get out! We've done everything." I was just like, "What?" Like they started.
That was a little corny to me too because like he just started like, spewing off like all the things that like people did right, and then it just like it like devoured him.
Right, and people were about to die, but they started saying all the good things. Like Eden was like he took like was Egan took the other guy's life, and then the other guy was like, "Well, you're a good guy because you saved my life," something, and then he didn't die.
It was almost as if like it was like, oh, you're right. Oh, you're right. Let me scare him. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, no. I was like, but that's the thing. I think that's what kind of pissed me off because I felt like, again, it was just like make a choice. It's like, what do you want this to kind of represent? It's like, do you want this to represent like religion, or do you want this to represent like some random like just like theology of something, because it's just like in those instances, like look what you said, Z, about just being like, hey, this guy did everything right, but it's just like what was happening to him was happening for a reason, you know what I mean? So it's just like I just thought it was weird how like what one person's like implementation was about like somebody like changed the whole decision of like they lived or die, which that didn't sit well with me. I was like, this is like, what?
In the lifeboat thing,
what is it supposed to mean? In
the lifeboat thing too, like the whole show was like if one person messes up in a lifeboat, the whole lifeboat goes down.
Yeah.
And clearly 7 people messed up because 7 people died, and the lifeboat
Right.
didn't go down. So that was
Right. I was like, be consistent, you know? It's
yeah.
like,
It is. I'm gonna reserve my other thoughts about the whole situation, but it's just like that's they walked a very dangerous line, and they try to like get away with it, but it was funny. I think
Definitely rushed. I'll say the last part was definitely rushed.
it was rushed, and just going back to the fact that I think this was supposed to be a longer season. Um, Basically, I feel like whenever Netflix took it over from CW, they just kind of made it their own, because season 1 was like, okay, this might make sense. Let's see what's gonna happen. But I feel like Netflix took it and just like did whatever and just like pretty much took the whole storyline, but they just added things and just Netflix whatever. So I think that's what happened. I can go look into that a little bit, see what actually happened. But yeah, overall, I was still attached to the people they became in that other world, like who like Olive became, who Jared became, like in that process of going through all this struggle and all this stuff. Um, Good for Kyle. I was like so happy Kyle didn't remember, because I was like, this little boy, like he just transitioned into a man and now he has to go through all this stuff. Like I felt so bad for him, like because you always I couldn't see him as Cal, though I always saw him as little Cal, because I was like so I felt bad for him, because I'm like, you got to go through all this stuff and you're still a little child, like you haven't like you didn't have those years to develop. So good thing he went back to being a child. I like that part, and he didn't remember. But at the end of the day, it's just like they answered some questions. I still had some questions, but are we gonna give this a rating at the end?
Yeah, I mean, we're wrapping up, so well, I'll ask the question. But yeah, we'll give a rating for sure. My last thoughts about the season ending, I did love the fact that they kind of did tie it together, like because I love Ben and Salmi being together. I want that to be in game, but when they came back, I was like, okay, that's why. That's why they couldn't have him be in game, because his wife came back, which I do love Ben and Grace, so that's good.
yeah.
But then yeah, it was kind of weird that they all yeah, they remember, everybody doesn't remember. And then like the Mick and Zeke part, I thought that was cute. Like she remembered that he was in the
Yeah.
cab, but I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know,
I
if
thought that
Randy
was
Rose gets in my
clever.
cab, I
That
would
was
have been like,
clever.
who the hell are you? You know what I mean? Like I would have been like, who the hell are you? So that was a fun situation of that. And then Jared and Mick was weird too, but then Drea shows up. That was kind of interesting too. I was like, but it makes sense because like you're tying all the pieces together that you wanted to tie together as well.
Yeah.
But then the mom being alive, I was like, oh, you know, it
Yeah,
kind of
that
cried
was
a little
very
bit too.
sweet.
So it was again, it was kind of rushed together. It did finally answer my questions. Was it the greatest show in the world? No, but we'll get to our thoughts. But any I know, did you share everything you wanted to share for the end of the season?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I think I'm not mad at it, you know. It's just I just wish there was a little bit more meat as far as like questions being answered, and I feel like just kind of stepping away from it being like, aha, like this is kind of what it was this whole time.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like walked away from it, like it's just like we, you know, like kind of what you said, it was a bad dream, or like it was just a bad reality that we had to like kind of test and overcome, but we don't really know exactly like what that was, but we're here now type of thing. Yeah, I guess it's just the geek in me. I just wanted more questions answered, but I did get a lot of them answered, so I didn't just walk away with like nothing. So
Yeah.
I'm satisfied.
My only I guess additional question that came out of it was like, okay, so is this situation going to repeat itself with A28ers because
Yeah,
11 people were gone,
that's what I
so
was thinking
you're
too.
not just going to be like, oh yeah, everybody else is fine. Like you're going to kind of do this same situation all over again with
Yeah,
the people on the plane. Like what happened? Like who killed who? Like what? How did 11 people disappear? That's what they talk about. So that was
exactly.
my next question. And you know, maybe they would have talked about, maybe they do a season 5 where they kind of do like the aftermath or whatever. That'd be cool. Or maybe like a
Like a
movie. I think
sequel.
Netflix has done a lot of like movies like that. Like there's a TV show and then like any type of unanswered questions they do like in a movie. And so I like the idea of that. But
Yeah.
that is our recap of all 4 seasons of Manifest. So last 2 questions. What were you guys' overall thoughts on the shows in its entirety? Like, good show, bad show? Would you watch it again? Would you recommend it? And then 2, what is your rating out of 10? As Jasmine likes to say, coffee beans. What is your rating out of 10? Who wants to go first? And then we'll wrap this up because we've gone way too long. But it's been great.
I would say overall, just because of my beliefs, my religious beliefs, it was a very cringy show to watch, honestly. I do like the storyline. It has so much potential, but I feel like they just walked the line a little bit. And like Dee was saying, like pick one. Are you gonna go like religious or scientific, or like what are you gonna do? Like I felt like they walked the line a little bit. So that part was uncomfortable for me. But the movie itself or the show itself, I do like the fact that they were able to grip our attention throughout, because a lot of shows I'm just like, I'm done, I'm not doing this. So that was good. And I would give it a rating, a logical rating. I would say for me it's a 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 coffee beans out of 10. Like Sawan said, it was a little rushed towards the end. And so if they had more time to like, get into it a little, make the ending a little more like as intense, honestly, as they made the entire show, that would have been good. But like I said, I feel like they combined 2 seasons for season 4, so that makes sense. But yeah, overall, it was a great show. I'm not gonna watch it again, never, never ever. But would I recommend it? I would say if you're strong-minded and you like figuring things out and going on a rabbit trail, then go for it. But yeah, that's my rating, 6.5 out of 10.
D?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was good or bad. Like, I mean, it was good, but it's not like it was like we've already said, it wasn't the greatest show in the world.
Yeah.
I think overall, like what I like about it is just it's a little different than like, what we're getting. I think like people are just like really hopping on like the Game of Thrones wave, like, like attracting people like and like those kind of storylines. So I'm glad that like we were able to get something that was tailored to something that actually like really happened, and it's like one of the biggest mysteries to this day of like what happened to that flight to Malaysia. So I just thought it was really cool that we were able to get something different, and it hit home because it's like it's based of like Americans and just like New York, and it's just like stuff that's always kind of caught like people's attention, especially like in the conspiracy space. So yeah, that's what I appreciated. But I'm with Z as far as the rating go. Like I was gonna go like 6.5, like 6.8. Honestly, coffee beans for my rating. I definitely wouldn't watch it again. I feel like if it was more like, I'm not gonna say drawn out, but if it was written the way it needed to be written with the time that it deserved to kind of really play out, I think it would have been a lot better.
I agree. I mean, like I said before, I shared my thoughts too. Like, only reason I watched this far is because I need the answer to my question, and I finally got an answer of like what the hell happened. They actually died. So for those that are wondering, like they watched this far, they're wondering like what happened to them in the plane. They died and they got resurrected, and they put out this whole storyline. So that's interesting there as well. But yeah, I agree with you guys. 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 is kind of where I'm at too, as far as like a review. So I appreciate you guys for joining that watched this far. If you guys have watched this far, I always like to do this too. If somebody's who watched this far, which I don't know who would be, but if you are, appreciate you guys. What what emoji should they leave in the comments?
Is there a volcano emoji or something, like a lava or like lightning or something?
Let me see. Let's see. I think there might be. Let me.
But that was the end. It was like the apocalypse or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not popping up. I can't see.
Oh,
Here we no.
Or lightning, maybe.
Okay. I think there's definitely lightning, so we'll do lightning. So if you guys have watched this far, drop lightning in the comment. Let us know you've watched it. Thanks you guys tuning in to another episode of Coffee with Friends. Appreciate you guys. This went long. Follow these guys on social media and tune in to the next episode. We'll see you.